Every single one of us has a story we're telling ourselves. For
Lord
years,
knows I do.
Tyson Black told himself he wasn't built for this. Not built to run, not built to finish ultras, not built to change. And then he challenged the narrative.
Wow.
On August 2nd, he took a walk, and that's it. No dramatic transformation, no audience, just a man deciding he wouldn't let his limitations define his future. And what happened next?
He never came home?
Well, Tyson didn't just change his body. He reprogrammed his identity. He rewired his mindset. He built grit, discipline, and he built it all with the world watching and sometimes doubting. This is a guy with the heart of a lion and the engine of a freight train, a man who proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you want it bad enough, if you're willing to suffer, and if you take ownership of your story, you can do absolutely anything. If you ever felt like an outsider in the running world,
I do.
This is the episode you didn't know you needed. Cue that intro. Welcome back to the Ostrich Running Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Mraz, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jarrett the Juice Horton.
I can't wait for this one.
I know, it's going to be great. Today's episode is for every runner who's ever felt like they didn't quite fit the mold. Tyson Black joins us from Tennessee with a story that punches you right in the motivation center.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, I like that.
What did you think I was going to say?
Yeah, I thought something else.
From walking to finishing 50 milers, Tyson has turned self-doubt into self-discipline and is showing others that, yes, you can be built different and still go the distance. Welcome to the show, Tyson. We are so excited to have you here. Please let our audience know who you are.
What's up, guys? Thank you guys for your time today. I appreciate it. And yeah, like you said, my name's Tyson Black, and I am from Cleveland, Tennessee.
Hey.
Little town right up above Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And
I wouldn't have been able to guess with your accent.
No accent at all. Yeah, no accent there. But yeah, Southeast Tennessee, man, is the stomping grounds. And I work my 9 to 5 at a funeral home, little odd job and an odd back there that a lot of people don't know about. And in the mornings and evenings, I'm running now, so I'm an ultra runner.
Man, I have a whole nother show that I want to do just on your job because that is awesome, man.
I'm certainly on funeral homes in Chicago.
Yeah, so. His family's in the funeral home business.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. That is awesome. Crazy.
Yeah, that's a really cool. Yeah, we might have to talk about that,
right?
Offline, man. I really appreciate it, man. So looking through a little questionnaire that you kind of filled out before, I'm really excited to just kind of jump into this. Get to know the journey that you've been on, where you're at. But quickly, just to jump into it, right? You started walking August 2nd, right? Right. Can you tell me what you remember most about that day?
Man, August 2nd, it really was like the first time you hit go on a watch for Strava. That was like the first Strava day. Before that, I really wasn't consistent. I had started, but I wasn't consistent with everything. And so August 2nd was my day of like, okay, man, like we're getting outside. It doesn't matter the weather. Before that, I'd been going to the gym and getting on a treadmill and stuff. And now it was like, it doesn't matter about weather. It doesn't matter about, what the situation may be. Today is the day that like marks the consistency. And thankfully, I have kept that promise to myself and kept up with that since August 2nd.
And this is 2024.
Yeah.
August 2nd, 2024.
Yeah.
So
that's
just right. Last year.
Just last year.
Wow.
And I mean, you've looked at the questionnaire and you've seen the accomplishments just from that short amount of time, right?
Right. It's insane.
What was your mindset like leading into August 2nd? What brought you to that point where, you've kind of had enough? Where were you at mentally and what was it?
Yeah. Really the last the last year and a half leading up to that was just like a year and a half of like my own personal loss. And I had three best friends that lost parents within that time span. And, two of those best friends, those parents were like my parents, kind of a thing, had grown up with them. And then at the same time, you're working at a funeral home, so like you're constantly reminded of that. And, for what I do a lot of our media. And so, I edit a ton of photos. I make videos. I make all the handouts that you may see. I work with the obituaries online, that sort of stuff. Anything media related, I've got my hand in.
We used to see it over and over again.
Yeah, over and over.
Yeah,
like
it's
these
just
stories, right?
Right. It's just a constant reminder. And, that was kind of like the final breaking point, I guess. Really, it's been years of me being what I call being a poor steward of my time, a poor steward of my health, and a poor steward of my faith. And so, those were like kind of the three pillars that like I wanted to change, and I wanted to, kind of rewrite the story on. And all of those things I have been a poor steward of for a long time. I mean, for years. So it was kind of like, that was just kind of the final straw and like the breaking point. And at that point too, I mean, I was the heaviest that I've ever been. I was extremely depressed and anxious inside. I'm kind of like, my personality's like myself, like big, and so I'm one of those people that I'm really outgoing. I don't have an issue talking to anybody or standing up in front of the crowd or anything like that. And so, it was crazy to be feeling the way that I was, like inside, and like constantly having to put on this act that I put on for months. And so that was just kind of finally like the breaking point. It had all just reached its peak. Yeah,
it's so exhausting to have the facade that you're okay,
right,
on the outside.
Put on a mask.
Yeah, to put on a mask. It's so much work, right? Even at times, like when I think back to where my life was at 6 years ago, struggled, and many of our listeners know, mental health, PTSD from the military, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, just from the brink, right? We all have our what we call and identify as our rock bottom, right? And some people have multiple rock bottoms, multiple descents into that abyss, right? That can easily take you out. Similarly, my father suffered from the same, substance abuse and alcoholism, but I got, he passed away, and I got to see that firsthand. And it was kind of like, you're looking into your future, right? Which is wild, right? And, that still didn't stop me.
Right.
Like, I see it. Yeah. For many years after, I continued to travel down that path. But
it's part of the process, just like he went through.
Yeah, exactly.
Times where he started, and maybe that was part of your process of.
Yeah, but then, finally something clicks, right? Whatever it is, something clicks. So you started walking, right? What did you tell yourself? Like, what was your goals? What was your accountability that you held Tyson to after that? What did you say? Hey, I'm going to do this. It doesn't matter the weather. And you're in Tennessee, so it's not like here in sunny Southern California where I'm going to go out and I'm going to run any day. And 90% of that time you go run, it's beautiful, right?
And I want to know, why did you choose running? There's a lot of different ways you could have, weightlifting, cycling.
Yeah. I think that, and really what's funny, I do have like a past in cycling. My dad mountain bikes. My grandfather is one of the toughest mountain bikers in this area. He's in his 70s, and like my buddies will literally be like, I always call him Papa Joe. His name's Joe, and I've always called him Papa Joe since I was like a little kid, And all my buddies know that. And so my buddies will be up at like the Whitewater Center, and they'll be like, I saw Papa Joe on a single speed just crushing up the mountain this weekend, come flying by us. And so like, I'm used to being on a bike and all those things. My dad and him still ride every couple days, kind of a thing. Dad's got the full trainer set up in the garage, a couple $1,000s in all this trainer and all this setup, So I've definitely cycled. Me and some buddies took a trip to Cambodia years ago, and we did a cycling trip out there and raised money to build some homes in Cambodia. And so that was really cool.
So you kind of like a mission that you went out there and did a little mission project. We had another guest that we had on here who was raising money through the Zion 100 for orphanages out in India. Yeah. So he ran that through.
Everybody has a strong sense of giving back, it seems like.
Yeah,
in this community. Yeah.
I'd like to explore that too, later on in this episode, that sense of community and giving back. And that's really what the purpose of this podcast is. I see so many people with incredible stories, yours included. I told you, my wife saw one of your reels and that motivated her, man. And now she's got a trainer. She's in the gym. She's working out 4 times a week,
awesome.
5 times a week. And it's that specific one where you cross that 50K finish line, rip that shirt off, and you're like, let's go. Like that. I mean, just that is like some motivation, right? Yeah. It's just insane. So you talked about,
but what was his why? So what was your,
Oh yeah. So what you had said was like, I guess, what did I decided to do? And so for me, it was, it was, I really, at that point, like I was so unhealthy that I knew that like the only option really was just walking. Like, you know what I mean? There really wasn't like, I wasn't going to be comfortable on the saddle of a bike as well, just because of how much I weighed. We've all sat on those like tiny bike seats that everybody bikes on, and so like, I just knew that walking was just kind of the only option. And so really I was talking with a coworker just yesterday about this, who's also kind of starting his journey too. And, I just said to myself, hey, I'm going to go out here every morning. And I've never been a huge morning person. As I've gotten older, it's become less of a problem, but I've never been somebody who wants to be up at 5 a.m. And so that was the other part of the process that I was like, we're going to get up at 5 or 5:30 every morning, go out to the Greenway. I live like less than a mile. Now I know that it's exactly 0.7 because I run over there now. But at the time I didn't know, what the distance was, but I would drive literally not even a mile over there to the parking lot, park, and just hop on the Greenway. And I would just walk for 45 minutes to an hour. And it didn't matter to me, like the mileage. It didn't matter. I knew some days we were going to suck. It's like August in Tennessee. It's super humid. You step outside and you're just immediately soaking wet. It's just, it's awful. And, so it was just those early mornings of 5:30, and you only see 3 or 4 different people out on the Greenway at that point in time. So you kind of got a little community of like misfits that are out there with you at 5 or 5:30 in the morning getting after it, and so I would see my typical guys and girls, say hey to them. And all those people were so encouraging, initially too. It's just the running community and the fitness community as a whole. Once you see a guy my size out there, I think 5-6 days in a row, you're like, okay, I mean, like, I guess this guy's serious, And so, people kind of embrace me out there and we're super kind. And so that was really the start of that first month or two of just, hey man, we're not worried about miles or anything like that. I'm worried about consistency and just making sure that I'm out here every day. Like, regardless of what that looks like. Some days that may be moving super slow at like a 24-minute mile. And then a good mile time for me at that point was like 19-minute mile,
I mean, it was so inspirational to hear you say, I had to learn how to run again. Like I had to go through that process of starting to walk, learning to run. Was like so inspirational to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other
because something like that, that's another obstacle, right? Most people are like, man, I don't even want to learn how to do this again. This is just, I'm just going to accept my fate as it is, right? Sometimes, and dude, I'm sure the pain, right? Getting moving again like that, even at my size, dude, when I hadn't ran in so many years coming out of, my previous lifestyle, I couldn't get past a mile and a half at most, right? And I was dead. And then I started cranking on miles, but my body was tore up.
I don't weigh anything, and running a mile is still hard for me.
Dude, it tears your body up.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, and then you have to, I mean, there were times that I'd have to Uber home. And my wife is like, why do you keep doing this to yourself? I'm like, I just couldn't even walk the rest of the way. Like, I don't know. I can't get past this certain distance right here. And I don't even know if I'm going to ever be able to. It just doesn't feel like it's ever even possible. Right. And then something clicks and you break through. So when Tyson looks in the mirror today, mentally, physically, what feels different?
Man, just overall, just really just, I guess, the gratitude, like an overwhelming sense of gratitude that I have to be able to do what I'm doing. And I guess that's really that's really the main emotion, I guess, that I constantly come back to, is just like, I am so grateful to just be able to do what I'm doing, and grateful that, knock on wood, it can happen to us anytime. I haven't had injuries or anything like that. And so, I can't help but not be grateful for that. And, I see a completely different guy in the mirror that I've never even seen before. I mean, like really a different I feel like a different person that I've really never been, like a side of myself that I've never been. Like, obviously I haven't just changed my identity. And my identity isn't just necessarily rooted in just running. I definitely am more than that, but, it's given me confidence, an insane amount of confidence just as a man. It's just, when you lose sight of like feeling like a man, it's like, when you lose that confidence, and, it can be just incredibly hard to like find that. And I've just found that where I don't really care what people think about me or whatever somebody may say or do. I'm kind of on my own mission, and, when I look at myself in the mirror, man, I smile now, like I'm genuinely happy,
Yeah. What comes to mind when you say that is, some of the books, right, that we talked about, Tribe, to find success in human nature, right? We need purpose, right? And when you're in these dark days, these dark moments, you lose all purpose. You just feel like you're just there existing, and the damage that, having a life without purpose does to you in the mind, the body, everything, just catalyst from that, right? So what I hear is, you finally found purpose, right? You found purpose into your faith, into your lifestyle. And, as a consequence of all of these actions, inspiration is coming from you. And as you said, you have coworkers who probably saw you and are like, man, you know what? I think I'm just going to do it, right? I think I'm just going to do it. And I love that you mentioned gratitude, right? Because more recently in, I'd say the past year or so, I've always practiced gratitude. I've always been grateful, right? But on these recent like training blocks in this last year of running, I find myself specifically having sessions of gratitude out there. Like, man, I'm so grateful that my legs are moving right now. I'm so grateful that I'm like dehydrated and sick
right.
and I'm puking my brains out here. I'm so grateful that I get to see this view at the top of this.
99% of other people
are not just won't even
see, even in your local community.
Yeah, it's wild. Gratitude is huge. And I think it's important for everybody who's, Jarrett on here on this podcast, he represents the non-running community, right?
Yeah, I don't get the ultra runner.
Yeah. Right.
He's like, what is this, dude?
We still love you, Jarrett. We still love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry. Each day I'm trying my best. I will plant a seed, and one
By
of
the
these
end of the
will
podcast,
take.
He'll be doing a 50K. Yeah.
Right.
We'll
I did a half marathon. It was the worst. I mean, it was the best and the worst experience ever. And I was like, I did it. I don't need to do this anymore. I ran a long distance.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, it's actually, that's a good point because he had this sense of completion and no other desire to go, what does the marathon feel like, right? Whereas you go in and you ran that 50K and your immediate thought was, what's this 50 miler feel like?
Well, I have a question for Tyson. So did you start off running 5Ks? Did you just say, I want to, I just want to walk and get in shape that way? Like, did you have a goal of becoming an ultra runner or?
Yeah. So I've always, and I guess cycling thing kind of helped with this, is like, I've always been interested in like endurance stuff just because of the cycling and just because of, I think my trip to Cambodia and all that stuff, like, we had to train for that and stuff, and we had to be ready for those conditions and everything. And so like I took that serious at the time of, and I think that's really what got me into it. So ever since then, I've watched the Tour de France and, the Vuelta and the Giro, all the major, cycling events, I'll watch all of those. And then I started looking at other stuff in the States. Like there's a race in Utah called the Lodija that's like from Logan, Utah to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And, so there's all sorts of crazy stuff, that they've got. And I was always looking at that stuff, but just from the outside of like, there was never a thought like, hey, I could potentially do some of this stuff. And so I think once I started kind of pushing myself and went from walking to running a little bit, and I was just talking about this the other day, like when I started running, I was running like 0.15 miles. Like I would literally run, I would be like, I'm doing 3 miles today, and I'm going to run 0.1 or 0.15 of each one of these miles. I mean, I had to like dumb it down that low because it was just like, I wanted to set expectations for myself that it wouldn't crush me to where it was like, it was a win for me, and not necessarily I tried to do a quarter mile clip and I can't even do a quarter mile. And so then I'm going to be mad at knowing myself and how hard I am on myself. I'm going to be mad at the fact that I didn't finish this quarter mile versus, hey man, you just ran 0.15 miles. Like that's how low we were at that point, getting started.
Bro,
and so,
instant.
Yeah, but that's such a great way to think about it. Like you don't have to set these crazy goals when you get started, No.
And like, if you do, it's going to overwhelm you and crush you. Like if you set these crazy goals, and I think this is big time for like somebody who is overweight and big, like it's good to have goals and big goals like that, but set them for like way down the road. Don't put those in front of you in the first month or two. Like let's plan this out and think about it. My coach always talks about, I'm a big spreadsheet guy, and my spreadsheets for these races look ridiculous, because I've literally got everything down to a T. But that's how I viewed this whole thing. I made a plan, and I was like, I'm not going to push. Even before I met Chase and my coaching group and all that, I was like, I'm going to set myself up for success instead of worrying about what anybody else is doing, because all these fad diets and all these 5K to couch to 5K programs and all this stuff, like it doesn't work for me. I've done them in the past, and what's happened is I've went 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year, and done great, and then I've gotten completely burnt out because this wasn't built for me. And it and so that was incredibly important. And then, I went from walking 5Ks to, by the end of October, I think it was it was right at the end of October, I ran my first 5K without stopping. And that was at the local Cleveland Half.
October,
60 days.
and so, that was like, it was a 15-minute pace, but it was like when I started, I got a mile and a half in, and I was like, man, we haven't stopped yet. We're not stopping, let's just keep going. And so, so little by little, I've just had those wins, but I think that, it was very important for me to do it my way and to take it very, very slow.
Well, that's why his story has to be told, because with you, it's like, we don't see you train.
I'm an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. We don't see you train. Like we didn't see that dark period or where you got started and you started walking.
Yeah.
You just come out and you're just running these 50s on your Instagram.
No big deal.
Like, so for me looking at you, I'm like, Nick just showed up. He's running these these full marathons, these 50 milers, and I'm just like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, and
but watching him, it's like,
and it's not like it started out like that, right? Obviously, this journey of when this account started, right? There were, like I mentioned, I've had to Uber myself home. Yeah, you know, right. I'm
You're an open book, but
I'm a veteran, right? You know, who used to be able to do things, right? A lot of this stuff, and I couldn't run, man. My body was just destroyed. But a lot of people don't see that start journey, right? But what I think about that story that you just shared is so incredible is the amount of discipline, right? Because this is one thing I'm still learning as an ultra runner is patience. I just want to be done, right? And I want to run, and next thing I know, I'm burnt out. But you know, trusting the process, being patient, and that's teaching me in life in general, right? Is I'm learning to be patient, and these goals need to be set. And the fact that you can put a 0.15 mile goal, right, and show patience and stick to that is insane. It's just a testament to how strong your mind is, right? So
and you see where that gets you. Like just the little steps every day. And 2 months later, he's already running a 5K.
Right at finishing. It, dude. Yeah, right at it. So, you know, you talk about that your superpower is kind of your self-talk, right? What do you actually tell yourself, like when you're in that pain cave or in that, you know, the weather sucks?
And explain the pain cave.
Yeah.
Like, what is the pain cave?
Yeah, I guess the pain cave is probably different for different folks, you know, but everybody has that, like that breaking point, you know, when you hit that wall, like when it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, some people, I've hit the wall 6 miles in on a 10 mile, you know, and like I've experienced that. That doesn't happen really anymore now, but you know, early on that definitely happened. And the pain cave is, it was Courtney DeWalter, I guess, who came up with that
exactly.
term, I guess. But you know, I guess it starts as a place when you're running that you don't want to go, and then the more you go there, the more you realize that's where you grow, and that's where you find out like what you're made of, because you're at this point where no one can help you. You have a decision of either you keep moving or you stop and you quit. And those are the only two options. And so once you get to that point, you know, what are you going to tell yourself? And I mean, there's plenty of people that have DNF'd, and I haven't been around long enough to DNF something. It's going to happen at some point.
I've done times, so.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And you learn lessons through that as well. You know, I'm sure big lessons. Oh, yeah. But you know, with that, you know, once I get to that point, it is just purely, whatever I can find for motivation. And for me, it's kind of easy because a lot of times when I'm doing these bigger ultras and things like that, there's not a lot of guys that look like me out there and that are my size. And so I constantly lean into that, and I constantly am telling myself, no one out here looks like you. And the other side of that is the endurance side, and probably what drew me to it was the fact that I knew that I was never going to be fast. Like fast wasn't going to happen here, at least not for years, right? Yeah. And so I knew that I had to lean into more endurance style stuff if I wanted to kind of compete and feel like an athlete again and kind of be out there. And that's what I was longing for. And so when I am out there, just the fact that I look differently than everybody is typically enough to push my mind to just continue to go forward. You know, and the other end of that is everybody who is in a lot better shape is getting these events done hours before I'm getting them done. Right. You know, so these guys are out here finishing the 50K that it took me 9.5 hours to do in 5 hours. And meanwhile, you know, like on that 50K at the end of it, we had lightning. It poured rain the last 2 miles. There were about 5 people that got to experience that on the course because everyone else was done. So, I mean, it was literally 5 of us that got to experience that. And
this is your cross to bear for being a little bit slower.
Yeah. But in that adversity, you know, it was terrible out there when that lightning hit and when the rain started coming. I was like, you have got to be kidding me, dude. Like, we're 2 miles away. What? No way. But
right.
If
like,
anything,
God is like, how bad do you want this?
Yeah, seriously. And so, you know, but that gave me an extra boost of motivation. So it's all about what you do with like the adversity that you've been given. I mean, I could have sat there and sulked and I did for a minute. I mean, it sucked, you know, but then we come around the corner and I see that there's 2 more people still ahead of me that I haven't seen for miles. And so we've been moving at a much faster pace than they have. Well, then I have everything that I need to, and I beat both of them to the finish line, you know, and like that was that adversity of like, thank you for the rain. You've slowed these 2 people down, and now I'm going to take advantage of this, and like I'm going to use this, you know. And so anytime I hit that pain cave, that's just, you know, it's just whatever it takes. And the other big one for me is music. I don't really listen to music, and that's what I kind of tell myself, like, hey, man, look around. Everyone has something in their ears playing right now. Like they have to turn their mind off because they can't deal with the mind anymore. Like they need to be on autopilot and have, you know, DMX in their ears so that way they can keep moving. Like, you know, you don't need that. We don't need that. And so I'm constantly, you know, just all those kind of things is just what I'm telling myself. And I still listen to music too. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's plenty of times I listen to stuff, but,
there's times
just
where
whatever
like,
it takes.
Yeah. When I've heard people like, oh my gosh, my headphones died. Right. I used to be solely just listen to music, right? Just to kind of lose myself until I worked on that muscle of being in the moment as you talk about it. Right. So I can go probably hours without, I don't need music, you know, and I enjoy the sound of my feet, you know, just scuffling along. Right. Some speed days I need a little boost to push me 100%. Through. But I feel like, you know, being able to have that superpower of running without music is so good. And I think if you're an individual who has to rely on music, I say train without it for a little bit to know that you're capable of it, because I mean, that might be another obstacle that gets thrown in your way. Something just your headphones break, your headphones die. What are you going to do? How are you going to move through that? And it's a beautiful thing to just hear nature, especially when I'm running out at 3 a.m. on some, and I have to listen out for what animals are trying to track me down to kill me.
Oh yeah. We got plenty of bears out here, dude. I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm not,
you guys got the bears. We got the mountain lions
rolling through. Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
so,
man.
Nick, do you actually search out the pain cave? Like, do you long for that part of running, or do you try and avoid it?
Look, it comes either way. It's exactly like Tyson said. It's different for everybody, right? Your half marathon. Yeah. You know, you had a pain cave there, and
I had it
at
really
6 miles in, or maybe what was it? Probably even
5 miles in.
5 miles in was his pain cave, and he's an athlete. He plays soccer, right? And he can do it, but he still hit a pain cave, right? For me, I think it's not that I seek it. I just already know it's going to happen, because as you see, like the distances that I'm doing, it's inevitable. Yeah, you know, it's part of that distance, right? Even marathons still have its own pain cave, but it's inevitable. And I think.
But like Tyson said, that's where you learn the most about yourself. So do you think that you're searching out that moment? I
do know it's going to come. More recently, my pain cave where I'm learning has been in these training blocks, because I'm going back to back multiple 2 times a day. And I get up and I'm like, I don't want to freaking do this run, man. I don't want to sprint on and off in this heat. That is my pain cave. My pain cave is really during a training run, and I push it out. A 4.5 hour training run in the heat is insane, dude. Like, why am I doing this? And I keep telling myself, trust your coach, trust the process. You just got to go through with it. Cause I was doing a lot of this on my own, prior. And, recently in January going into February, I got a coach, and she's amazing. But she's about that life too. She just completed a 100-mile race. She knows what it's like to have kids, a career. And, I think it's just great. So like, she's just helping me. I have a mantra of just trust the process, and do that. But Tyson, you said that, you have a coach as well. And I think I know who he is based off social media, right? And some of the other people that we interviewed. What role has your coach played in shaping your running evolution? Because I know you mentioned prior to that, there's no knowledge of this world, right? How has that shaped you? And, please expand.
Yeah. So I guess really where I realized I needed a coach was by the end of me starting to walk and starting to run a little bit. I had done a 10-mile walk through town with some buddies. And it felt great all day. We get to the very end of that 10 miles and I just bonked hard. And I'm immediately just toast. I'm throwing up. I'm dehydrated, the whole bit. And it's because I hadn't had barely any water all day and I didn't eat anything. And at that point, I have no knowledge of nutrition. I have no knowledge of fueling, no clue about any of that.
And me too.
yeah, bingo. And like, it's just one of those like, oh, we're all tough guys. Like, we'll just, just head out. Don't matter. I hadn't drank water today or whatever it is. And so, and like my two buddies that I'm with are both guys that are like, nah, they're both runners too. That are like, whatever, Yeah. So I was like, I've got to get a coach. I've got to figure this out. Like, if at that point, I had already set my sights on doing an 8-hour trail race. Like that was the initial thing I wanted to do. I knew that I just needed to do a timed, go as much as I can within a given amount of time instead of trying to tackle like a set mileage or something like that, And so I had already set my sights on that, and I realized I've got to get this in check. I've obviously got to start running too, and I don't know really when to push that and how to push it and how much I need to be running and
the structure.
The structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just
when Tyson said that he ate pizza during his runs, I knew he was my type of runner.
We love pizza. We're a big pizza area.
Gotta have pizza in the ultras, man.
I know, right? And he just makes fun of me. So Jarrett is a soccer player, and
I need to chase something.
Yeah, he's got to chase something, and then he also never eats. He never drinks water. And once I started to understand like fueling, right? Because I didn't understand fueling for my first marathon. I also didn't understand recovery. Like an idiot, I went and ran a marathon the weekend before just to make sure I could run a marathon, for the next weekend. So I didn't fail publicly in front of everybody because that's what you do, right? And it was the hottest marathon. So then I go and I do that. And it was, I think 5.5 hours, 5 hours, 45 minutes was the first marathon. And I was puking the whole time, just terrible, just the worst experience. But, I even still did my own research, and it wasn't enough. And I shared this with my coach. I think it was the beginning of this month. I took a screen grab of my Strava stuff where, it shows all of your running months, and you can see the previous year before I had a coach, all the workouts, all the distances were, jagged, right? Up and down, up and down. And the moment I had a coach, the structure was just boom, solid growth. And it was just so steady. And I was like, this is the perfect representation of what my mind was like before you came along in my life, because I had no idea what I was doing, reaching and trying to grasp for something. But having a coach brings that structure into your whole plan. You set your goal, but it's kind of like set it and forget it and just trust the process, which has been my mantra, right? Just trust your coach, trust the process, do this. And it has been night and day for me.
Yeah.
And it takes so much off of you. Like, there's a reason why coaches have coaches. Like, it takes so much off of you where I don't have to worry about it. Like, I know that Chase knows what he's doing with what he's done himself, and two, with the other athletes that he's worked with. It's obvious that he knows what he's doing just by the results of everybody else in our group. And so I don't have to think about any of that. And, I really feel like, too, there's a lot of people that probably would have got me injured, like early on, trying to push me, and not really understanding. And I think that some people may have thought that, maybe I wouldn't be willing to put in the work like somebody else would, or something like that, just because of my size and just the fact that
I'm sure his clientele base was, again, like we mentioned, you didn't fit the mold, right? And everybody who's reaching out to that guy was like, yeah, I'm ready for this.
Right. And so I'm sure for him too, he's probably thinking like, this is different for him too. I'm the only one in our group, probably, I am. I'm the only one in our group that's the size that I am. And so, I'm sure for him, he was probably thinking, there had to be some part of it that was like, I don't know if I want to take this guy on, and he would tell you too, like his whole thing is that you have to put in the work, and that he knows that I am going to do that every time, and that he doesn't have to worry about that. But he didn't know that then,
exactly.
There's no way that I would be able to have tackled the 3 races that I've done, and in the amount of time, really from that 50K to the 50 miler was only about 5-6 weeks in between that. And so that's a lot for me. And I don't think that I would have been able to do that in such a quick turnaround without having such a good coach.
Yeah, he went straight from one race to an immediate training block into another race. Because, that's about the minimum
and not just
that
any
you
race,
can have
50
in time.
miles.
I know, dude. So you crossed that 50K finish line. And this is the question I want, because I what I'm chasing, right?
Yeah, right.
What did you feel when you crossed that finish line? I saw the video of it, but when that finish line crossed and you did it, what did Tyson feel?
Yeah. Have you had an out-of-body experience too?
I mean, literally, it kind of felt like that. Like coming around that corner, that's a local trail for me as well. Mm-hmm. So it's only 30 minutes up the road, and I went and ran it again, probably a couple months ago maybe, and I came around that corner and just sobbed like a baby again, just like I did at the line, because it was just like I just was envisioning that whole thing over again. Like, and I had, it was a great day. We had done like 15 miles or whatever, and I come around that corner, my buddy's looking over like, what's going on? I'm just like crying because I hadn't been at that point since the race, and that's just kind of what it meant to me. And yeah, it was just, I don't know. I was a few feet from that finish line, and I was like, dude, it was like, we just did 55K, and it's time to just rip this shirt off. Like, I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks about this. I was
looking at it on the way here. Yeah.
I don't care what it looks like. I don't care, and I'm looking at like, you're not looking at everybody filming on their iPhones. Like they had like the race people there, taking photos. And so you're like, oh, this is going to look real clear image on the DSLR cameras. You know what I mean? So
it's going to be all of me.
Yeah, it's going to be every bit. But man, I wouldn't change any of it for the world. And yeah, I don't know that I've ever had that feeling of accomplishment quite like that, and I grew up playing soccer actually for years.
Nice.
And was really healthy for years and years of my life until graduating high school. And so, just to finally feel like an athlete again, like there's just some power in that too. And, I just did what all those other people that I've been running beside all day did. Like, all of those feelings just kind of hitting, and like, it's almost like you kind of do have an out-of-body experience. Like there's some of it like I kind of don't even remember, because it's just like you're just so like in this state of like disbelief of what you've just done, but it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I remember going home that night, and I barely even cared about the game. I bet I watched 10 minutes of that football game, man. I'll be honest. And I'm a huge football and sports guy, and I probably watched 10 minutes of that. And it's because I was already looking up races for 50-mile races that night. Like I was already within hours of me coming across the line. I was like, man, if I can find a 50-mile that could give me about 18 or 20 hours, I could probably do that. Yeah. And so it was on,
Dude, there's one, I mean, it's still just what you just said is resonating. There's a couple things, but you said, I crossed that finish line and I finally felt like an athlete again. And that's huge, man, because what that tells me is you almost felt like you weren't who you were for that entire time. You look back to this person who you used to be, who used to play soccer, right? And I mean, I'm here to say, dude, you're an athlete again. Like, dude, 110%, you're an athlete again. It is insane. I am so I watched it and I was proud for you. Right. And number two is I am also a big sports. I love football, baseball, all that. We talked a little bit about that. I know something's wrong with me when I didn't buy Game 1 World Series tickets for the Dodgers because I had a race that I was doing. And I'm like, well, let me just see if I can get this next game. And you know what's crazy is I had Game 6 for this last year, or was it? Yeah, it was Game 6 for against the Yankees over here.
And you're a huge Dodger fan.
And I'm a huge Dodger fan, man. Like, we had season tickets, huge, and I was ready for this. I was like, I can't go to Game 1, and because I'm at Javelina 100, freaking Freddie Freeman. with that
yeah,
insane,
you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
I know. Thank you very much. So I always thank Braves fans and Red Sox fans for Mookie and Freddie.
Yeah, if you need any good players donated, just come see the Braves. We got you.
That guy is incredible. But look, I missed this whole once in a lifetime experience that I've been looking forward to since I was a kid, to go run a 100-mile race. And we all saw how that ended up. I ended up not getting to go to my game because they won one game ahead of where my tickets were. But would I change it? No, man. There's something in there that transcends your personal, fandom of what it is that excites you, right? So again, a rewire has taken place, and I mean, I think it's just insane. It's crazy. I'm so happy that you felt like that at the end, because this is something I'm chasing. Did the marathon distance. I've been so emotionally bottled up for many, many years with the past traumas, the PTSD, just disconnected myself in so many ways, right? And I've been looking and chasing for this feeling, this finish line feeling, right? And it hadn't happened at the distance. And we just recently had a psychologist on, and maybe it's not about the distance. It might be about, the awareness of what it is that you need in your feelings. And I just wanted to say that I'm very jealous that you got to cry at the end of that race.
Hey, well, listen, it's crazy that I haven't cried already on this podcast, because I'm just one of those emotional teddy bear dudes that cries all the time. So my buddy who was running with me that day when we were back out there, I'm sure he was just like, well, what did he think of this time? It's just no big deal. I'm the guy who cries all the time,
Yeah, see, and that's good, man. I mean, we need more people out there like that who make people like myself feel a little bit better. I'm scared for when it comes. There's a lot of years.
There's going to be a lot of crying.
I might have to just hi. And my wife
call me,
always
bro. Just call me. We'll cry together, dude. You just tell me one sentence and I'll be broke with you.
You're going to run 3 miles and it's just going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's not going to be like your 100 or it's just going to be some super short distance.
Nick, you have you have a mile and a half recovery run before your race. Oh my God, man. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I wanted to ask you, do you think that trail and ultra running world is really inclusive for all body types right now? Have you had any negative experiences? Have you had those people that we see online all the time who know it all, who have always something to say? What's been your experience like in the running world?
Man, I'll tell you, the trail community specifically and the ultra community has been nothing short of just incredible to me.
That's awesome.
I mean, absolutely incredible. And really the whole reason why I even had the Gone Loco 55K on my mind to do that in February was because back in September or November of the previous year, or September, October of the previous year, I had seen the race director, David Compton, out there, and he had stopped. I mean, dude runs 7-minute miles, no problem for 20 miles, 30 miles. He's an absolute beast of a runner. And the guy's doing a 20-miler that day and just stops to talk to us, wow. And is like, hey, man, he's like, you need to come out. He's like, we've got races all the time. He's like, you need to come out for this Gone Loco, this 50K. And I'm like, dude, what is this guy talking about? Look at me, bro. I can't even believe you just said that to me. Yeah. I'm like, are you talking to my buddy Brett? Because you're definitely not talking to me. Right. And, he was just incredibly encouraging from that moment. And we saw him out there all the time, remembered our names, would always say, hey, guys, hope to see you guys in February. So it was a no-brainer that was the first ultra that I was doing. There was a guy down, and I'll never probably ever meet this guy. There was a guy down at my in Helen, Georgia. We did the Helen half, and it was a trail half marathon. And we're in the wood. I'm probably 8-9 miles deep at this point in the woods. And we're going down the mountain at this point, and this guy's coming backwards, a local, up the mountain. And he sees me, and I'm with two girls from Florida that I kind of just hung out with all day. It was awesome, but they were super cool. And we're going downhill, and this guy's just trucking it up there. And one of the girls is like, "Oh my gosh!" I think like one of them said something at first because I was in the back and I didn't even see the guy. And I look up, and this guy is just hammering this hill, and he made it all the way back down to his car before we ever even finished to get. I have no idea how this guy did it. He was crushing, but we get down to the very end of that, and we're at this final crossing, like road crossing, and I hear this dude scream from 100 yards away. And he's like, let's go, dude. He's like, there is nobody that looks like you out here. There is nobody that just did that 13 miles that looks anywhere like you, bro. He was like, keep going. He's screaming at the top of his lungs for me. And he's just like, don't stop, he's just like firing me up and gave me everything. And so and I've had multiple stories like that on the trail where I've passed people that they have made me feel like I'm Andy Glaze 200 miles deep in an ultra and that I'm like a superstar, and, I'll be honest, I don't get that vibe when I line up at a road race somewhere. It's a lot different environment there. And, that is what it is. It's not to say that there's not awesome people that are out there doing marathons and crushing the roads. I know a ton of them. And I know a lot of good people, but it's just, when you get to that, when you get to those marathons, sometimes you can have that feeling of like, I don't belong here. The guys in the singlets crushing sub threes, that's intimidating. And it's just, and that's not to say that they're jerks or anything. They're locked into what they're doing. And I 100% understand that, but it just kind of sometimes doesn't feel like there's a place for you, I guess, in that.
I felt like that. I agree.
Yeah, you are intimidating, and you are
not
you're
at all
exactly what he's talking about.
I felt like that 100%.
Looking at you,
roads.
That's how I feel.
And for different reasons,
Tyson
though.
makes me want to run.
When
you don't make me want to run at all.
I just scare him. He's like,
come
tattoos.
on out to Tennessee, Jared. I got you, man. We'll get a program started for you. Jared will be crushing 50K by next month.
It's just because he's too scared to be in the dark in the canyons with a guy like me, where nobody can hear him scream.
I want to eat pizza and enjoy myself.
and these ultras, they're smaller, right? A lot of times you don't have 3,000 people towing the line, right? Where you're shuttled in. You start to build relationships with people who you've seen at other races.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And you don't find that in a road. And like he said, it's great. It's fun. You're still out there putting in work, but everybody's so locked into their own. But I've noticed that in these trails and these ultras, they're still locked into their own. You know, they'll leave you after a good 2 hours of conversation. Like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and head out over here. And then they take off, and then you see somebody else, and it's great, you know? But yeah. So like personally from you, right? What's the social media, experience been like? You know, what kind of, you know, how have people around you, how have they reacted to your transformation? Are you just like bombarded with everybody, you know, saying, oh my gosh, man, this transformation, this, you know, you doing this makes it feel like possible, right? Which I think is you in your own way. I don't know if you realize like how much of an ambassador you are becoming to this sport. It may not feel like it's
just
big.
this sport.
Yeah, just
anywhere.
like anything, you know. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like a sense of duty at some point now, or what's it been like? Are you just going to continue to lock in? You're like, hey, I'm just a guy. This is my thing. I don't mean to do this, but you know, what does Tyson look at and see where he's at and what he's accomplished and who he's influencing?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words. First off, but yeah, you know, it's been a little odd because it's just not at 100%. And I know that some people probably just say this off the cuff too, but it was 100% not my intention at all to like, you know, ever put anything out that I guess people would find encouragement for, like inspiration from, I guess, you know. It truly was like I started my account sometime in August, and I don't even think I really posted on it until like the end of August. And at the time of even last year, you know, I was probably just posting like once every, you know, month or a couple times a month kind of a thing. And it truly was just like, to me, it was a layer of accountability that I needed, right? It was like the layer of accountability of like, I'm posting this out here and I know that my friends locally are going to follow this just to support me. And it was just another layer of accountability of saying like, hey, if I put this out online, people are going to see it that are in my local community and they're going to say, good job, but they're also going to be keeping me accountable. Right. You know, it's not about like getting a good job or a keep going. It's about the fact that somebody's watching this and now they've seen it and like, so, okay, dude, like you can't stop now, like, right. You know? And so that's really what that was about initially. And then, you know, I think just over time, I just got more confident in myself and more confident in just the fact that, that there is power in just being transparent. And, you know, I have family members and friends that I love and care about dearly and that I want to see get healthy as well. And that I want to encourage to be their best self. And I know how I feel now in just such a short amount of time. And that's really what kind of pushes me to do what I do. And that pushed me to start the whole Walking Wednesday thing that I'm doing every Wednesday. You know, I have a walking group that just starts at 5:00. It's 30 minutes. It's a 20-ish minute pace, just walking and talking kind of a pace, you know, and we're never going to run, you know, like that group will never run. Like there's nothing to that of like, hey, this is a group that's going to turn into a running group. That's not good. If I have a running group, it's going to be a running group. And this is specifically to aid people who want to start walking or may not feel safe whenever they walk or, you know, whatever it may be. And so, you know, those kind of things were just about consistency and about seeing like people locally and people that I know, you know, kind of win with me and encourage them to get out there. And then really it just kind of turned, you know, I don't know when like the turning point was honestly on that. I guess probably more so, I really feel like just organically over time, I've just met more and more people and like, you know, you'll throw a reel out there and it'll connect with somebody. And then also it helped, linking up with Chase, and then, you know, we've got a community of about 50 people that he's coached over time, that we're all in a group chat together, you know, and we're all encouraging each other. And I get, you know, a lot of feedback from those people, and they have been super supportive and like shared my stuff and like that sort of stuff. And so I guess that growth just kind of organically happened a little bit as far as that goes. And I still really I don't necessarily feel like I'm inspiring so much. You know, I feel like a lot of people say that like inspire people. Like, I don't necessarily feel that, but like, I do feel like I definitely encourage people. And I think that, I'm just so grateful for like what people have done for me and the support that I've got, that like, I just don't see that side of it, or don't dwell on that side of it. As much, you know, and so, you know, I know that my coworkers would definitely say that I've inspired them to, like, we've got a group of us now that a bunch of us at work are running and stuff. But
that's awesome.
If they didn't start, we started our own nonprofit at work called Companion Care. Our company's called Companion, and it's called Companion Cares. And we pushed to do a 5K and half marathon together, and we had 27 employees and their loved ones join us. There was 27 of us total that went out and did this race last year in honor of my best friend Trey, his mom that passed. And so if we had never done that, you know, then I wouldn't be, if they hadn't pushed to do that, and I hadn't been at just such rock bottom, like, we wouldn't be here. And so, you know, it's just one of those things where they would say that I inspire them, but I would say that you inspire me. And so, you know, it's just, everybody wins whenever you surround yourself with people like this, you know, and it's just encouraging those people around you. And then at some point you're going to get that encouragement back. And that's why it's so important to like, just be grateful and just love and care about other people that are around you, you know?
Yeah. No, that's amazing. You're so welcoming to the community, and I love the Walking Wednesday because that's just going to be a platform for so many people, because there's nothing more intimidating than run club, right?
Right.
Run club. You're like, man, I can't even freaking run right now, dude. Like, I just want to walk, dude. But like, there's not a group of walkers, man. So I think that's just amazing and incredible.
Or I don't feel safe to go out there and do this by myself. A lot of people.
Well, he doesn't feel safe walking with me.
No one should. No one should feel safe.
Right.
But did you have any other questions?
Are you going to be running across Tennessee? Is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're. I don't know how much running will be happening then.
Well, I don't think anybody. Yeah. So break into that, man. I want to hear something that announce that with us. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I haven't said anything about it yet. But why not now? No better time than the present. So
let's go. Asher's running.
but yeah, so we are myself and one of my other best friends, Clay. We are running across the state, north to south. So they have what's called Vol State, and Laz, who puts on the Barkley Marathons.
Yeah.
He has a race through Tennessee called Vol State, and it's 317 miles. Some people in my close circle that knew about this thought that's what we were doing, and we are not doing that race. So I want to make that clear off the go.
Okay.
We are not doing Vol State. We're not doing 300 miles. We will be doing 175 miles across the state, north to south. We'll start
just
in
175.
Just 175.
Yeah, just 175. So we'll start at Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, just outside of the state line in Virginia. Okay. And because we want to make sure we're technically going through the state. So we'll start in Virginia, and we will come down into Knoxville. And then from Knoxville, we'll kind of branch off on a highway that actually goes from Knoxville to my hometown. And then once we get to my hometown, we'll go through what's called Red Clay State Park, and it is right at the Georgia line. So we'll actually go through Red Clay State Park and end at the Georgia line. So it'll be a 6-day, 6-day, at least 25 miles a day is what we're looking at. The first day, The first 2 days are 50Ks plus, and then the rest of the days after that will be
a marathon.
Yeah, around a marathon a day. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God!
What scares you the most about it?
It's road. It's road, and it's not. It's just that whole thing in your mind that like you're just on the road. Like I love the trails, and I fell in love with the trails so much. And that's been kind of hard getting into this training block, is like getting back into road. And just getting back used to like finding my pace on the road versus the trails, because it's so different. And I'm so used to like stopping and hiking and then crushing down hills and then stopping and hiking and crushing down, and so you have in your mind that like, oh, now I'm on flat ground. I'm just going to go. And then you're just gassed, and so it's been really tough kind of getting back into that, but I've done really well with it in the last week or two. And, we're kind of in the peak of the training block right now, doing about 45 to 55 miles a week, and then two weightlifting days in there as well too. And I'm incredibly excited about it. I'm also crapping my pants about it. I'm 100%, and I think that if you're gonna. As a lot of people said, if you're going to do something and it doesn't scare you, then it's probably not big enough, And
for sure.
There's definitely that. I'm plenty scared. So this is big enough, for sure.
I'm scared for you. What's the date that's going to start again?
And not too many things scare you.
Right. So we'll start on June 9th and end on June 14th. So it'll start on a Monday, end on that Saturday. And we're hoping that hot. Oh man, it's going to be so hot the whole time, and so humid too. I mean, so we're really hoping to shoot for like 14-hour days, and to hopefully start by 5, 6 a.m. in the mornings, so that way we can catch a little bit of the dark in the morning, and it be a little cool once we're starting, but we're hoping for some 14-hour days, and then towards the end, hopefully some 12-hour days once the mileage kind of decreases as we go.
To adjust.
So hopefully those days will get a little quicker, but it's also going to be a little harder on that end. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm incredibly fired up about it. And
oh my gosh, man, that's we wish you the best of luck, and great mental strength. Hopefully this body just carries you along the way. Grateful for all that. We'll be thinking about you. And I think do scary things, man. And it's incredible. So where can people find you on social media? What's your social media?
I got to ask him one more question before we get to that. So I asked all the runners this.
Oh, yes.
Why not just run like a half marathon faster? Why the longer and longer distances? Does distance represent something for you?
I mean, I think that distance, it just represents endurance for me, and so just, like I said about the pain cave, it's just, there's so much growth in that, and there's so much growth in doing difficult things. And it's not to say that a marathon's not difficult, but I won't be able to run a 4-hour marathon for a long time. And so to me, a road marathon to me is not enough endurance and not enough of like a push for me. And I know that probably sounds crazy to people, but just because of how slow I'm going, I just want to push for those longer distances. And I guess it's just the search for like endurance and the search for just seeing really what you're made of, and being out there for that insane amount of time. It took us 18 hours to do that 50-mile race, and so for 16 of the 18 hours we were moving, and there's just something about that endurance and like going after those longer distances.
And you said no music the whole time, pretty much?
Yeah, we didn't know music the whole time on both of those ultras. Yeah.
And I've heard his musical taste on his post, by the way. I'm a huge fan of. So whenever you get a chance, you send us a playlist of what you have, because I know it's good. And I want to bump that at some point.
Lots of 90s hip hop.
Oh man, that's awesome.
What do you think about for 18 hours?
I can't say the things that I think about.
I was thinking about shit splits is what I was thinking about. Yeah, because it was for real. But yeah, dude.
God, there's some weird things.
Mine goes step. I'll be like step right. Like
sometimes you get weird and like wonky too, like that, right? Where you're like, like talking to yourself and a little crazy. Like you're like, man, I probably sound like I should be in a psych ward right now.
Super shape. You forget that you're running, but
and we weren't even smart enough to think about it. And we did a night 50 miler, so we started at 8 p.m. and went all night.
Oh my gosh,
why did we do this like nighttime one?
Right.
Gordon and the Pistol, I love you guys, by the way. I love the Pistol Ultra, but it's like, why? I was like 8 hours into this, and I'm like, why did we do the one that goes from 8 p.m.
Who the hell said 8 p.m.?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Dude, that's the same star. They're like,
I'm
not able to catch
keep the other runners fired up, and I'm like, well, these other runners signed up for 100 miles. They know what they signed up for. Right. To keep these guys in good spirits,
Yeah. That's actually going to be my first experience to a late start time for Kodiak 100 in October for me this year. Awesome. I looked at it. I'm like 8 p.m.
and you'll just be in the dark.
Yeah, you start out and you're just all through night. Yeah, through the light, falling, tripping over everything, and then you just keep going all the way up into the next day. Which you're right though. It's kind of like it's a little play for those 100-milers. Like, oh, let's get the dark part out first while you still have energy. I'm like, I want that one where I'm like 80 miles in and it's 3 a.m. like, I want something crazy like that. But dude,
my body's like, what are you doing? You're trying to go to sleep and you're about to run. Just look at the same moon and it's like, I'm never going to catch it. I don't know.
That's what he's going to be saying once we get him with the 50K. Maybe I just take him out over to Tennessee and we get him out there and
we come on out to the humidity, brother. I got you out here, man.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
Out here first. Running nice in San Diego. Like,
oh man, he's like, what the hell are you guys on over here? You're spoiled brats. Tyson, brother, I really appreciate you, man. We got to have you back on. On after you do this Tennessee thing. And I'm just so grateful for your story, for your inspiration, just kind of explaining who you are and, bringing a little bit more clarity to the individual that we saw online. And just a big fan, man. I'm just so grateful for it. Real quick, just tell the people where they can find you, where they can follow your journey, maybe reach out when you get a chance go ahead.
Yeah. So everything is just tysonruns.slow. So you can find me, Tyson Black on Facebook, and then not many Tyson Blacks out there in the world, I've found out. So Tyson Black on Facebook, and then on the other socials, you can find me at tysonruns.slow. I do a bad job of keeping up with everything except for Instagram. I'll be honest. I don't know. It's just,
it's just easier.
Mainly Instagram, but I'm everywhere. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the time, and look forward to coming back and chatting with you guys.
Yeah, man. Sure. Yeah, we're looking forward to it too. All right. So that's another episode of the Ostrich Running Podcast. I told you, man, every time.
This one.
It's just inspirational to find individuals like Tyson out there.
This made it more realistic for me.
Yeah, man, this community is a great place, and this is what I want to continue to showcase to you, like what crazy world I'm in right now, but I think why it makes more sense to you as to why I'm in this community, right? A bunch of us messed up people trying to overcome some demons that we had. It's just a beautiful thing. But that's another episode of the Ostrich Running Podcast. We're so grateful for you guys listening in each and every week. Cue that outro music.
Baka.
Oh, a little bit less this time. Huh?
A little bit less. When it's a really great podcast, I can't scream. That's the